Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on what is a pretty gloomy Thursday, is it? Honestly, I don't even know what day it is anymore. As you know, I've been away on holiday, but I am back in business kind of now. Um, Sort of getting there anyway. I got a couple more days off where I have to look after my kids until they can start back at school. But other than that, back in business, heading towards January. I will be at the Emirates on Saturday. Should, fingers crossed, that game against Manchester City go ahead as planned, which at the moment it will, or it stands to. But we all know that things can change very, very quickly at the moment. And Arsenal suffering with some COVID issues with Mikel Arteta, the latest person to have a positive test. And now we wait and see what happens with Arteta. Obviously, he's not going to be at the game on Saturday. He was due to be speaking today for his pre-match press conference. That has now been moved by Arsenal. It's moved back till tomorrow, 1:30 now. Tomorrow, he is still due to host it remotely, but we'll have to wait and see if that remains the case or not. And as it stands, he will not be on the touchline on Saturday. And also Pep Guardiola, Albert Stuyvenberg will be. And it looks like going to be quite a skeleton staff there. I'm not sure if you've seen it or not, but Sam Dean over at the Telegraph wrote a story today saying that Arsenal's there are other positive tests within the coaching staff at Arsenal as well, and it could be a bit of a skeleton squad. Could even see people like Per Mertesacker called up to help with the coaching staff on Saturday against Manchester City. So it could be quite an interesting one. Not ideal against a team like Manchester City. And against the likes of Pep Guardiola. But we'll have to see. Hopefully Arsenal can cope and they can put up a decent showing, because they're going into this one in very, very good form. I've missed plenty of goals since I've been away. 14 of them, I think, in the last 3 games Arsenal have scored. Everything's clicking, that sort of fab four of Saka, Smith Rowe, Odegaard. And who am I missing? Martinelli, obviously, doing the business behind Alexander Lacazette at the moment, which is great to see. So anyway, I thought I'd pop on. It's been a long time since I've done one of my Q&As. Sorry for rambling for the first couple of minutes, but it's been a long time since I've done one of my Q&As. Now I'm back from holiday. I thought this was a good opportunity. We have January approaching. I know a lot of you want to know about the January transfer window, and I'll try and answer any questions I can on that. I've got about 20-25 minutes or so now. A little bit of a disclaimer ahead of the January window. You know, I'm not expecting Arsenal to do that much business, which I know will probably disappoint a fair few of you, but I just still think they'll be much more focused on the summer. If they can do something, do a smart piece of business in January, like the Odegaard loan from Real Madrid last January, they will, if they can. But we'll have to see if that an opportunity like that presents itself, because it's always difficult in January. I think Arsenal's focus when it comes to recruitment and the work the recruitment team have been doing recently is very much focused towards the summer and the new striker, new central midfielder, that sort of thing. But anyway, let's stop rambling, shall we? And let's go and answer some of your questions. Plenty of you popping up now to say hello. Good to see all of you guys, and any of you sort of popped up. I saw a few of you when I was on holiday, actually, and you came up and said hello at Centre Parks, which was nice. So good to see. I hope you all had a great Christmas. I hope all of you had a great Christmas. Sam, how am I this morning? I'm fantastic, Sam. Thank you very much for asking. Will we be organised without Arteta? I mean, that's going to be a big question, isn't it? I think with Arteta, what's really interesting with him is, you know, he's very much a coach. Yes, he's a manager, but he's very much a coach. You go back to the behind closed doors days, you could literally hear everything that Arteta is doing. He's coaching his players through the game, constantly on them. So it will be a big miss, I think, him not being involved certainly against a team like Manchester City, where you have to change and sort of wake up to see what they're doing, because Man City, you never know until they start exactly how they're going to play, how they're going to set up, and you have to act fast. And without Arteta being there, it's going to cause a few issues. Yes, he'll be straight in Stuyvenberg's ear, I'm sure, remotely from home, but it's still not going to be the same. So I think they're going to miss him, no doubt about it, and it will be a big miss, especially if there are other members of the coaching staff missing as well. Silo here asked about Dusan Vlahovic, one of the most in-demand strikers, you would say, across Europe right now, heavily linked with Arsenal, Tottenham, Juventus, plenty of other teams over the last couple of months. All I can say on it at the moment is that the word I get from people that I've spoken to at Arsenal about this is that they don't see themselves as serious contenders for Vlahovic. And it's a lot of the sort of speculation that's come in is potentially sort of agent driven or just to rise the profile. And it doesn't appear, from what I understand, I might be wrong. It could be a smokescreen from people I've been speaking to, but certainly the impression that I get is that Vlahovic and Arsenal isn't really one that could certainly happen, especially this January. I can't really see it. Not from the word I've got from people that I've spoke to, is that Arsenal absolutely do want a new striker. It's going to be top of their agenda, probably in the summer rather than January, even with the Aubameyang situation at the moment. But from people that I've spoken to, Vlahovic is not the top target by any means, despite all the speculation that you hear. So that's the latest on him. Is there any chance Tomiyasu will be there on Saturday? I think it's doubtful. I mean, we saw the pictures from training ground yesterday. Ainsley Maitland-Niles is back, which is good. He'd obviously one of the players who was out after testing positive, but there was no sign of Tomiyasu. The good thing is with this, and Tomiyasu's super fit anyway, is that you just need a positive, you just need a negative result, and we don't know exactly how long Tomiyasu's been positive for, and they're testing pretty much every day right now, and as soon as you get a negative result, following government guidelines, or it's 2, isn't it? After 7 days, it's 2 negative results. Once you have those results, you can play. And I think with Tomiyasu is that he's super fit. If he got a negative result on Saturday, for example, I wouldn't be surprised to see him put straight back into the team just because of his fitness levels and his mentality levels as well. So I wouldn't totally rule it out, but certainly at the moment, it's looking unlikely that Tomiyasu will be back. Good evening from Thailand, says Mark. Hello, Mark. Hope you're well over that beautiful part of the country. Interesting one here from Drev. Sorry if that pronunciation is bad. Are Lacazette or Nketiah likely to leave in January? I don't think Lacazette's going to leave in January. I think that's very, very unlikely. But I think Nketiah, there is a possibility that will happen. I think Arsenal wouldn't really want it to happen, but given what's happened with the contract, given the fact he's repeatedly turned down offers from Arsenal to stay, if a really decent bid came in for Nketiah in January, then Arsenal might look to do that, especially if it looks like they might be missing out altogether on compensation at the end of the season. Should he agree to go and join a team from abroad on a free transfer, Arsenal are going to get pretty much nothing in terms of compensation because he's over 23. So if a decent bid came in, say from a Brighton or a Crystal Palace in January, then I wouldn't be at all surprised if Arsenal accepted it. The only issue is there that Arsenal accepted a bid from Crystal Palace for Nketiah in the summer, and that move didn't happen because of personal terms not being agreed between the player and Crystal Palace. So would that be different this time around? You'd have to say it's probably doubtful, but unless Palace really increased what they're offering. And for Nketiah now, the position that he's in is probably smarter to wait until the summer when you're going to be a free agent, when clubs are going to be able to give you even more money because they're not going to have to spend a transfer fee on you. So, it's looking, from Nketiah's point of view, you can see why he would want to wait until the summer now before picking his club. But, if Arsenal do get a decent bid in from January, then it wouldn't surprise me if they do accept it and hope that Nketiah can then agree personal terms. But Lacazette, I just can't see it. I think he'll stay until the summer and then he'll leave, and Arsenal will look to revamp that forward line from there. AMM plays his first game for Roma when? Well, there you go. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Roma are one of the clubs interested in Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Everton still interested, wanted him in the summer, still interested now. So I wouldn't say absolutely nailed on he is going to go to Roma by any means. So we'll have to wait and see how the Maitland-Niles situations develops over the coming weeks. The thing with Arsenal and midfielders is we know that Thomas Partey and Mohamed El-Neni are going to be heading off to the African Cup of Nations at the start of January. So even if you are willing to let Ainsley Maitland-Niles leave on loan, you'd have to say from Arsenal point of view, it'd be a lot smarter to do that at the end of the month rather than the beginning of the month because he's going to be needed. And again, similar with the striker situation, I don't really see Arsenal, unless a really decent loan comes up, I don't really see Arsenal making a big move in the market in January for a central midfielder. I think they'll wait until the summer where they'll really go for their key targets. They won't want to be rushed into anything. So a short-term option could be appealing for them, but it depends if one presents itself or not. So with Ainsley Maitland-Niles, I think I wouldn't be surprised if he ends the window away from Arsenal, but it might be a deal that happens right at the end of the window rather than the beginning of the window because of what's happening with African Cup of Nations and Thomas Partey and Mohamed El-Neni leaving. But I don't think it's absolutely nailed on quick thinks, all thoughts that that it will be for Roma. They're one of the clubs that are interested in him, but there are others as well. Curtis Webb, this documentary going to be the best one since Icarus. Yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting, isn't it? They're going to get their money's worth, I think, Amazon from this season when it comes to Arsenal. I think we all knew that was going to happen because let's face it, Arsenal is always a bit of a soap opera, isn't it? Has been for a lot of years. So as soon as it was announced that All or Nothing was going to be covering this season, you thought they'd probably get their money's worth, and it's certainly proved to be the case with everything that's gone on at the moment. Godfrey, hi Charles. Any chance that we will sign a striker or a midfielder? I mean, I've already kind of answered that, Godfrey, in my last couple of answers. Again, I just feel like it's more likely that we will see that. Those are the two positions. They're right up the top when it comes to Arsenal and their priority and what they're going to do. But, I wouldn't be surprised if two strikers, for example, are signed. But I'm just not sure it's going to be January. I still think they're going to try and hold off until the summer when they can really do some significant business and try and sort those two areas out and get the players in that they really want. It's just going to be really hard to get the players they want in January. So you don't want to go and rush it just for the case of a couple of months. So I think with the Aubameyang situation, I still think the best thing for them to do is try and sort it out, patch things up one way or the other, and at least get through till the end of the season with Aubameyang rather than try and do something in January, because you don't want to throw out your best laid plans, the plans you've been working towards when it comes to the transfer market, and not be able to get your first or your second choice and have to settle for someone else just because you're trying to rush it through in January. So I just think Arsenal are more likely to wait and do things in the summer. They were very smart when it came to their transfer business last summer, and I still think they'll try and hold off to do that again. And those two you mentioned, those positions, a striker midfielder, I just think it's something we might wait and see until the summer. I mean, you never know when it comes to a short-term loan option could pop up out of nowhere, like, as I said, Odegaard from Real Madrid last January, which proved to be a fantastic piece of business. But it's very hard to get those type of deals done in January. It could easily be another Denis Suarez situation, for example. And you try and fix an area with a player who's available, who's not playing elsewhere, and it just doesn't work out. We've seen it plenty of times. It's very rare you get an Odegaard situation in January. And there is the Jack Wilshere wildcard option. We still don't know what's going to happen with Jack Wilshere. He's obviously been training week in, week out, day in, day out with the first team at Arsenal. Mikel Arteta raving about him, players raving about him. Could he be a short-term option, possibly till the end of the season? Arteta's been very coy when asked about it. I mean, I remember asking about it before I went on holiday. And he's very coy on the subject, but he did say he believes he's 100% good enough still to play in the Premier League. Could he be a short-term option? We'll have to wait and see. It could tick a couple of boxes for Arsenal if he is as good as Arteta has been saying he has been in training. It's an interesting one, Michael. How does ESR get in the team? I mean, does it really matter at the moment? At the moment, I know I'm Emil Smith-Rowe's biggest fan, but how do you get Emil back in the side at the moment? And does it really matter? It's great that he's coming off the bench and he's scoring goals and he's making an impact off the bench. That's what you want. Martinelli's playing superbly. Do you take him out? Do you drop him? You got to say no at the moment. Odegaard, fantastic at the moment. Can you drop him? You got to say no. And Saka, likewise. So, and I don't think it really matters at the moment. You want those four to be rotating and to play. Some of them can come in, come out. We do have games coming up over the festive period. We've got the FA Cup game coming up as well. You've got the Liverpool two-legged cup semi-final coming up as well. So there's plenty of games to be played. And I just don't think it has to be a case now of getting all of these. Someone has to start. It just doesn't. You can rotate, and this is a position you want Arsenal to be in. It's the position Arteta would love to be in, or would have been hoping to be in, where you have these quality attacking players all playing at the top of the game, all contributing when it comes to goals and assists, and then fighting for a position. And that's what you want to see. At the moment, Smith Rowe's out of the team. I'm sure he'll take his opportunity once soon and get back in there. But as it stands, it's not a case of having to shoehorn him back in the team now, because he just doesn't need to. It doesn't need to be happening. Samuel Wenger, one match at head coach. Yeah, bring Arsene Wenger back on loan for the Manchester City game. That'd be quite interesting. Thank you, Rafael. Appreciate that. I hope Switzerland is well. It's an interesting one from Connor. How much do you think we'll get for Eddie in the compensation package? Ings was 7 million when he went to Liverpool, so we should at least get that. I'm not sure it's as simple as that, Connor, because Ings was more of a senior player at that point, I think, and also he moved to an English club at the moment. As it stands, there's lots of interest from Germany in Nketiah, and it seems like Nketiah and his representative's preference possibly is to go abroad. Should that be the case, then Arsenal are not going to get anywhere near that type of compensation for Nketiah because he's over 23 and he's not joining an English club. So it doesn't quite work like that, unfortunately. It's sort of being as simple as thinking, Eddie's England under 21 record goal scorer. He's been in the Premier League, getting around the Premier League for the last few years, scoring goals. So Arsenal should get very good compensation. But you've got to remember also, he hasn't been at Arsenal since he was 12. He came to Arsenal later after he was released by Chelsea. So I think, I don't see Arsenal getting £7 million in compensation for Eddie Nketiah. I just don't see it. I think that's why if a decent bid did come in January, that they'd probably accept it just because they know that getting good compensation for Eddie is going to be a bit of a struggle at the end of the season. So this is the big question, isn't it, from Keith? Auba in or out? It's impossible for me to answer it at this stage. We know Auba's going to be going off to the African Cup of Nations at the beginning of January. He's not been training with the first team since the whole incident after the Everton game, which was on, December the 6th. It looks like a very difficult one to fix for Arsenal and for Arteta and Aubameyang. Personally, and this is just my view on it, and I said it earlier on in this broadcast, is that I just feel that the best thing for Arsenal to do when it comes to Aubameyang is patch things up somehow and get through to the end of the season with him, because you're going to need him, and it's just going to be very, very difficult in January to get yourself a good striker if you let Aubameyang go. And if you let Aubameyang go, I think you have to buy a striker or bring in a striker on loan, just because of sheer numbers. You've got the Nketiah situation as well. You've basically got Lacazette, Martinelli, who we don't know if he's a central striker, and he's playing so well out on the left at the moment. You don't want to really move him. Then you've got Balogun, who's definitely going to go out on loan. You've got Nketiah, whose future's up in the air. So you basically got Lacazette at the moment, and you're relying on him totally to stay injury-free until the end of the season if you're not going to pick Aubameyang. And that's why I just feel they've got to find a way of patching things up and getting through to the end of the season, because if you let Auba go in January, you've got to replace him somewhere. But where are you going to find a replacement in January? It's going to be so difficult. They're not going to go. I don't want to say they're not, because you never know. But it's very highly unlikely that they're going to go out and splash £80 million and bring in Dusan Vlahovic, as I've said, in January. It's just, he's going to want to stay to the end of the season. Fiorentina aren't going to want to leave him. And you can say, and this is the same situation for so many other strikers. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is a player that Arsenal like at Everton. Are you going to get him out in January? Highly unlikely. He's been injured anyway, barely played all season, so you wouldn't really want to be spending money on him now. All those sort of things. Jonathan David at Lille, another player that Arsenal really like and have been tracking for a long, long time. Are you going to get him out in January? They're still in the Champions League, I think, Lille. It's just not going to happen, and that's why I just think it's going to be really, really difficult to bring anyone in this month or next month. So you've just got to find a way of patching things up with Aubameyang and getting him through to the end of the season, then saying, right, fine, you can go then. We'll get it. Go off to Barcelona, we'll find you a deal, we'll get you over there, we'll get you to Juventus, something like that, and just get through to the end of the season. Because I just don't think, I don't think you're going to get a better player than Aubameyang at this stage of the season. Even with Aubameyang's struggles at the moment, you can still guarantee he's going to score your goals between now and the end of the season. So you just got to patch it up. You've got to find a way of working it out, getting back from the African Cup of Nations, I've totally lost my train of thought. Integrate him back into the team. That's the word I was looking for. Integrate him back into the team, or back into the squad at least, and have him involved as an option. That's personally, that's what I think should happen. Will it happen? We'll have to wait and see. Who knows? Someone might lay down 20 million on the table for Aubameyang in January, and suddenly, if that happens, then I would expect Arsenal to accept and to move it on. So we'll have to wait and see. No, I'm not, Ali, especially as he's dead now. Rest in peace, Charlie. So no, I'm not, although plenty of people have asked me that over the years, it has to be said. Tampa Bay asking when the press conference is for the City match. It was supposed to be today, but it's been moved back now until tomorrow, 1:30 p.m. UK time. This is an interesting one, Godfrey. Is it possible to get Wijnaldum on loan? Depends on Paris Saint-Germain, doesn't it? I mean, he would be a very good option. He was asked by Mikel Arteta was asked about it. He was pretty coy on the subject, as he always is when it comes to transfers. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, I think it was, when the question was asked at one of the press conferences. If something like this, if an opportunity like this arose, a really smart piece of business of a top quality player, someone who you're getting, who isn't going to take any sort of time to settle back into the Premier League, because we know what Wijnaldum is all about, then that's something I can see Arsenal doing in January, because it just ticks an awful lot of the boxes and it's a bit no risk. But that it's really hard to get a player of Wijnaldum's quality, for example. So it all depends on PSG and if they were willing to let him go or not. So is it possible? I just really don't know at this stage. That's down to PSG. If he were available, then that's the type of player that I can see Arsenal going for, to try and sort of strengthen them, getting them over the line in the second half of the season, because they put themselves in such a good position now when it comes to the top four, that if you can do a smart bit of business and just strengthen your squad just with 1 or 2 players in key areas, then it's all the better. And I know Mikel Arteta will be very keen to do that. And it's players like Wijnaldum who I could see Arsenal pushing the boat out for, should the likes of PSG or other clubs who have those type of players be willing to let them go, like Madrid were with Odegaard last season or last January. Yeah, Mark, this is exactly what I'm talking about. I don't think it's just going to be Arsenal. I know we all get a bit excited when the transfer window comes around, but I just don't. I'd be surprised if it's going to be too much of a thriller this January, especially with everyone's finances the way they are. Loans, again, as they have been in recent transfer windows, I think will be very much at the top of the agenda when it comes to clubs. I mean, look, I do, as I've mentioned previously, I do think they, Arsenal could be left a little bit short in midfield when it comes to the AFCON with Partey and Elneny going. That's why I'm saying that I don't think Ainsley Maitland-Niles, it would make much sense to sanction that move for Ainsley should he go at the start of the month. I think you wait until the end of the month to keep him around, because he could be very, very useful. I think Charlie Patino, now we saw what he did against Sunderland when he came on. I think he'll be around a lot more when it comes to the first team. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays against Nottingham Forest in the FA Cup, for example. He's training all the time now with the first team. We might see him integrated more and more into the first team over the second half of the season. He could be more influential in January as well. So I think Arsenal could be looking at that. And I've mentioned the whole Jack Wilshere wildcard situation. I do think there's no doubt that Arsenal could be left a little bit light in midfield with Partey and Elneny. But in terms of making up for that by bringing in a new central midfielder, as I've said and continue to say, I think only if a real sort of decent opportunity on loan arises will they look to do that. Hey Max, yes, thank you very much. I had a very good Christmas. Thank you very much for asking. I hope you and everyone else watching did. This is an interesting one from Charlie D. Charles, surely we have to do business now. It'd be poor running the club, negligent to try and not take advantage of the top 4 situation. I mean, it is interesting what you say there, because you do look at the situation Arsenal in now. I think they've given themselves such a good chance. Can you get themselves over the line? But to just say you have to do business, it's just not as simple as that when it comes to football, is it? Because a selling club has to want to sell. Will they do that in January if their season's on the line? If they're like Arsenal are pushing for a top 4 spot or a Europe Champions League spot in whatever league they are across Europe, why would they sell their best players at this stage of the season? It's just very, very hard. You just rarely see big business done in January. It just, obviously there are a few examples of it happening, but it's very, very rare. And Arsenal have been working very hard when it comes to recruitment, and the recruitment team's been working very hard in terms of who they want to sign and identifying the key players to improve their squad. But it's just the summer is so much easier to get those things done, and you don't want to just rush through a decision in January just for the sake of it almost, and then that a few months down the line sort of knocks down something that you've been working on for an awful long time. So it's just not as easy as saying you have to do business in January, because the market is a really difficult one to navigate in January. It's as simple as that. So I'm sure Arsenal will, if they can, do some business in the month when it comes to incomings, to try and strengthen the squad and to try and help Arteta and the team push on after this positive start to the season and really go for a top 4 spot. But it has to be the right player, and it has to be something that is smart business over the next few months. I still feel like a more short-term option is the more possible. Cam, it's hard, but just don't get so angry about it. I'm not saying that they're not going after a midfielder or a striker. I just feel like it's more likely that they'll wait till the summer. And if a short-term option happens this month, then they'll look to take it. But it's not just Arsenal, it's everyone, all the clubs. And I just saying it to I'm blue in the face. And I know it's frustrating. I know you want to see new signings, but it's not Football Manager, it's not Championship Manager, is it? It's real life, and clubs won't panic just for the sake of it in January. It's just not going to happen. So wait and see. Look, no one is saying that Arsenal are not going to go out and sign players this January. It could well happen. We've seen it in the last few Januaries. They have gone out and done a little bit of business, albeit again on loans until the end of the season. And that will be the way they go, I'm sure, if they go to do it again. That it could be a loan deal with, if it's the right player with a potential to sign on permanent at the end of the season. But I still feel they'll ideally wait until the summer to get the players they really, really want. When they might be available, be easier to get the business done, and you can get these players out of their clubs. Not sure that's true, Christopher. I think some of the players might, to be honest. Yeah, I'm sure there's still plenty of Arteta people out there, but you've got to say at the moment things are looking pretty good at Arsenal, and it's been a very nice end to the year. Right, what are we up to now? Nearly half an hour. I'm going to look through. I'm just looking through the questions that I've got here. Most of them already been answered as well, so already. So there's no point going too much in this. Jonathan David, here we go. So ask Mario, what's the vibe around people you speak to? Now, Jonathan David's an interesting one. He's a player who Arsenal have tracked for an awful long time. They tracked him when he was in Belgium, but at that time he wanted to go to France. He felt that him and his representative felt that was the next stage in his career, in a stepping stone in his progression. It proved to be a very smart piece of business from them. And he's had a great time in Lille, certainly this season, playing really, really well, doing it on the international stage as well. And I wouldn't be at all surprised if he goes in the summer. Now, I'm not saying he's going to go to Arsenal, but I think in the next step he will move. He will leave Lille in the summer and go on to the next club. And Arsenal will certainly be looking at that situation because he's a player that they have tracked for a long time. And that's, again, when I come back to saying, why I think they'll probably wait until the summer, is that someone like Jonathan David would be not impossible, but it'd be very hard to get out of Lille in January because of what they've got to play for in the second half of the season. So, yeah, I mean, the vibe around him is that I think he will be looking to leave Lille in the summer. Lille's not the happiest club at the moment. Behind the scenes, there's issues going on there with players not really being rewarded for that title win last season, which Jonathan David was very influential in. And I think he'll be looking to leave, but I can't say for certain right now that will be to Arsenal. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with him. Lots of you asking about Bruno Guimaraes. Randy here, Mohammed, all asking about Guimaraes. And all I can really say about him is he's someone who pops up time and time again, being linked with Arsenal. It's been going on for the last few windows now, whether it be the summer or January. And I've always sort of steered clear from this one. It's always been very much kind of agent driven. And that still feels the same way to me right now. I wouldn't absolutely rule it out. Obviously, the agent and his agent and Edu have got good relations, and he's a very good quality player. He's only 24, so he fits the bill in terms of age of Arsenal, the type of players Arsenal are looking at. But it's just one that I've never heard anything definitive that's made me think, yeah, Arsenal are going to go for Bruno. There's been lots of noise, lots of speculation about it, but it's never been one that I've had anyone that I trust say to me, yeah, could be a goer. We are interested. We are looking at him. It's always been more, this is a bit agent driven, stay away from it. And I haven't heard anything different on that right now. So maybe maybe it's something that they will look to firm up over the coming weeks or months. But right now, as it stands, it's one that I would sort of stay away from or steer away from a little bit. So that's my understanding of the Bruno Guimaraes situation. All right, everyone, we're over half an hour now, so I'm going to call time on this. Thank you very much for joining me in what's been my first Q&A for a while. I appreciate all your comments, your questions. If I didn't answer yours, it was just because I've already answered the same question basically that someone else has asked. There's no point in me just repeating myself over and over and over again, because that would be pretty boring for everyone. So thanks for watching, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Mikel Arteta's press conference, as it stands, will be tomorrow at 1:30 p.m. So keep an eye out for that. And head over to goal.com for all your latest Arsenal news. I've just got an interview with Zayn Louis, Arsenal's young defender, which I published today. Head over and have a read of that if you can. Good stuff from Zayn, very talented young centre-back who Arsenal have high hopes for. So give that read if you can. Have a great day, everyone. I'll speak to you very, very soon.